All right. So like, let me test it out. Make sure it's Salakia. Run to what? Okay. Okay, looks like it should be good. All right, Most High in Christ. Let's go ahead and clap it up. Shalom. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah Barakatah to all the brothers. Yahweh Shemal Athah Bashim Yahweh Shah to all the sisters. It's the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Under Commanding General Yohana. You understand? Teaching the truth since 1969. You can have a seat, brother. Water. Teaching the truth since 1969. You know what I mean? That blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the true Jews according to the Bible. Let me get this stuff out the way so y'all can see the board. You know what I'm saying? Of course, tonight is the Lashawan Qadash class, the language class. You know what I'm saying? So we'll be getting into this Hebrew. So I can get these different things off the screen so everybody can see the board clearly. Okay. Most High in Christ. All right. Like I was saying, since 1969, teaching the truth according to the Bible. We out here in Durham, North Carolina. Priest and Officer 500 Thabawan holding down the Hebrew class, the Lashawan Qadash class. All right. So, of course, we're going to continue from where we left off last week. Some of the concepts that we brought up, and we're going to, you know, of course, refresh from some of the basic things, you know what I'm saying, for people who might be new to the class, or, you know what I'm saying, people just might be their first time checking it out online as well. All right. So, the water for tuning in with us. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, you know what I mean, to the Isupk Durham page on YouTube and Facebook and all the other different pages throughout the Isupk. All right. So, before I know you got a question. We're going to get into questions. If anybody has any questions online, you can post those. Questions in the room, you can just raise your hand. But before we do that, I just want to do a quick intro before we get into the Hebrew for today. All right. So Yanazar, if you could, Baba Shah, if you could get me Salakia Heritage. Well, first give me Ass knows his owner. I think that's Isaiah, right? Mm-hmm. After that one, yeah. You mean Isaiah first, then Jeremiah.
Okay, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib.
Now, what does that mean? The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. You understand?
If I may, sir. It means like if you go on a farm and there's a cow or any kind of cattle, and that cow lives there, he knows who the owner or who the master or who he belongs to. He knows. And so, and it says, and the ass, his master's crib, the ass being a donkey, you understand, considered to be a not so bright animal.
Clever animal.
Yeah, he's not clever. Got good instincts, but he's dumb as hell.
Right.
But he knows where his place is.
Right, exactly.
He knows where his place is.
Simple. Right? It's a metaphor. An ox knows his owner. An ass, a donkey knows his master's crib, right? These animals that are really, they're not particularly clever. Again, it doesn't make them so stupid, so to speak. But there's other animals that are much more clever. These animals are a little more instinctive. But even these two animals that aren't considered the brightest of animals, they know where they belong. They know their master's crib or their master's house. They know how to get back home. Okay? Go ahead, Yanazar.
But Israel
Now, say that again. Slow down right there.
But Israel.
But, B-U-T, right? Meaning what? On the contrary.
Yeah.
So in opposition to what we just said, on the contrary, but who?
Israel.
But Israel, go ahead.
Doth not know my people.
Israel doesn't know. So the ox and the ass, they know home. They know where they belong. But Israel doesn't know. Go ahead.
My people.
Whose people?
My people.
No, God doesn't have a people.
My people.
God loves everybody.
My people.
Now, wait a minute. It just said a second ago, Israel. But Israel, what?
My people.
So Israel is God's people. They're the ones who don't know where they're from. They don't know what home is. Go ahead.
Doth not consider.
My people doth not. We don't even think about it. We don't even think about it. We get told by our same oppressors, by the same people who enslaved us and our ancestors, we get told you're African, and we believe it. We get told you're this, and we believe it. We get told that you're nothing but a nigger and a spick and a wetback, and we believe it. And that's why we didn't talk about it today on the radio show, because we ended up talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. But that's why blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians kill each other the way we do. Because why not? It's not like you're actually killing somebody. It's not like you're killing somebody that's worth staying alive. Because in America, a black man is what? He's 3/5 of a man. He's not even human. Right? Can you swap? Oh, I got you. He's not even human. That's historically documented in America. So it's no wonder why here our lives are expendable. Read that again from the top.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know. My people doth not consider.
That's why a black man, he's calling himself a black man. You understand? He doesn't know anything beyond that. Beyond before slavery, what does he know? He doesn't know where he's from or what he is. You know what I mean? Where his ancestors are from. All he knows is what's in front of him. All right? Because the Bible said it. We don't know. We don't consider. Now, drop that. Give me Isaiah. Not Isaiah. Give me the one in Jeremiah. Let's prove it a little bit further.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4.
Mm-hmm. These are the things that are in the Bible the Christian pastor never told us was in the Bible. Go ahead.
And thou, even thyself.
And thou, even thyself. Who's he talking to?
Of course, he's talking, if I may, sir, he's talking to the Israelites once again.
Talking to the Israelites again. And thou, even thyself. Go ahead.
It tells you that in verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
But and thou, even thyself, shall discontinue.
Shall what?
Discontinue.
What does it mean to discontinue?
To cease from doing or to halt, stop.
Right. To cease.
Disconnect.
Disconnect. You know what I'm saying? I remember back in the day when I was hooping when I was young, we used to call a discontinue. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to saying not a travel, but like a carry, right? It was another way of saying carry, discontinue, right? Like you picked up your dribble and then you started dribbling again, right? So it said, even thyself, you shall discontinue, you shall halt, you shall be disconnected. Go ahead.
from thine
From
heritage.
your what?
Thine
I mean,
heritage.
can the Bible get any more plain and simple for our people? You shall discontinue from your heritage. You'll be cut off from your heritage. Go ahead.
That I gave thee.
Know that America gave us.
That I, the Most High, gave thee.
That the Western world gave us.
That I gave thee.
That the Most High gave us. All these other things we call ourselves are not things that the Most High gave us. The Most High gave us what? He gave us Yasha Allah. He gave us the 12 tribes of Israel. You understand? He named our forefather Jacob. He named him what? Yasha Allah, Prince of the Power. Or now it's translated to Israel, right? That's what our forefather was named. His name was changed from Jacob to Israel. Okay? That's the heritage that the Lord gave us. Unfortunately, now we've lost it. So when I tell somebody Lashawan Qadash, when I say Anya Ahabyaka, they don't know what I'm talking about. At one point, I didn't know these things. Had no idea what this was. Had no idea that my ancestors spoke Hebrew. No idea, no clue. You understand? These letters right here were foreign to me, right? But no sweat. We're gonna get it back. All right. We can actually drop that. All right. So any questions? I know you had a question, brother. I don't see nothing in the chat right now. But go ahead. You can ask your question. What's your question? Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So currently I'm employed and my employer is pushing me to get the vaccine. And I'm basically claiming, religious exemption, but I want to know, what is this school of thought's, interpretation of what's going on in America now with Biden's mandate.
Okay. As far as Biden's mandate goes, with the vaccine, again, that's up to you. You know what I'm saying? That's up to you. Like, you want to get the vaccine, you get it. Don't want to get it, don't get it. But just know that legally speaking, if they choose to let you go or whatever, they're within their legal right to do that. Now, you can fight it through religious exemption and things like that. You do your best. Might be a losing battle. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Vaccine, again, it's just, it's like, how do I say this? The vaccine is no different than any other thing in America that we either have to use or utilize or take or what have you. Every Tylenol pill I've ever taken in my life, I had no idea what was in it. No clue. No idea. Every time I've gone to a doctor when I was injured, or anybody goes to a doctor when you're not feeling well, you could go in there and that doctor could slip something in your IV. He can do all kinds of things. Now, am I saying that some of the trepidation that people have about vaccines is completely unfounded? No, I wouldn't say that. But what I would say is that vaccines have been utilized. This is not the first time a vaccine has been mandated. It's happened for almost 100 years now. When polio was spreading all over the place, they mandated vaccines. Spanish flu. It's happened before. This is not unprecedented. This is not something new, right? But I would tell you personally, if you have, again, some trepidation or hesitation about getting it, I would seek counsel. You know what I mean? I would call the in the school, we have brothers who counsel brothers and can tell you more directly what might benefit you personally. What's your line of work like? What, you know what I mean? And things like that. How long have you been there? And they can kind of guide you through the situation better than I can. I can't give you counsel on what to do personally. All I can tell you is that the stance of the school on vaccines is either you get it or you don't. We're not for it. We're not against it. It's not really, just like we've never been against any other vaccine. You know what I'm saying? Like, or any other medication that is approved, you know what I'm saying, by physicians. The scriptures say to honor a physician. So if you get prescribed something, you should take it. Why? Because it could probably save your life. You know what I mean? Yeah, Yanazar.
At all times, one thing that we have to remember here in the Isupk, we've been taught that we're in captivity.
Mm-hmm.
And we rely on the oppressor for everything.
Right. That's a great point.
Including our jobs, more than likely.
Right.
So, you have to take all these things into consideration. The best advice, is to get that counsel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the best.
That's a great point. We are in captivity. So you may not get this vaccine, but then you might find yourself again, like I was saying before, at the mercy of a doctor some other time for some other thing, or any physician. You might find yourself at the mercy of a lawyer. You might need a lawyer for something. You know what I mean? And the best lawyer might not be an Israelite that you need in that moment. And because we're in captivity, we're not running the legal system. We're not running the pharmaceutical companies. We're not running the medical system. And we're at the mercy of these things. But absolutely, as an individual, you want to get counsel. So brothers can guide you a little bit better than I can personally, you know. But I wouldn't be afraid of the vaccine personally. You know what I mean? That's just me. And I'm not saying you are afraid of it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, again, some people are hesitant because, you know, not you, but there are some people out there who are just afraid of needles. There are definitely some people that are just afraid of needles, and they're just afraid of, okay, everyone else is in an uproar, so I'm a little worried now. You know what I mean? The scriptures say that we shall eat poison and live. You know what I mean? So the same person who's worried about that vaccine is going to smoke a fat blunt tonight. You know what I mean? And that blunt, they don't even know what's in it, and they could care less. The higher they get, the better. That same person who's scared of the vaccine is going to probably do other drugs, or they're going to have sex with some whore that they just met last night, unprotected, and they're not even going to think twice about it. You know what I mean? So that's our stance on that. Before we worry about things of that nature, get some counsel, talk to the appropriate people about what's best for your situation, and don't kill yourself in other ways by sinning. Okay? So but yeah, so that's the stance of the school on that. You know what I mean? You have any other questions related to that part right there?
When it comes to
when
when it comes to like I guess discernment,
mm-hmm.
this is what I would consider what you creating judgments off of something he feels inside of him.
Discernment.
Well,
yeah. Finish your statement.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, you know, I feel like there's something in me that says, you know, I can't trust this. I don't trust Babylon. I don't trust these people and whatever they come up with. So, you know, when they pushing this thing now, my question is, what's your motivation?
I got you.
And there's something inside of me that's strong with it. I'm like, no.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
I understand.
And that's what I mean more so. With that being said, you know, does the school back you with that kind of thing where it's like, you know, trust yourself, your heart, because
a heart is deceitful.
It probably won't lead you astray.
Okay, let me answer that with a scripture real fast, right? And appreciate it for writing your name down. So that should be, I think that's in Jeremiah as well, right?
I don't know where that one is.
I got you. I'll get it right now. That's an excellent question, right? Because a lot of people, like I was saying, right? Jeremiah 17:9. Some of the trepidation, some of the hesitation is not even about the vaccine. Not even about it. It's not even about needles. It's more so about, okay, why are they doing this? No, it should be 12. No. More so, some people are like, well, why are they mandating it? Why are they do it? There was a time when they were giving people, they still do it to a degree, giving people incentives for the vaccine, which is dumb and weird and stupid. And all it has done is made people more hesitant and look at it like, wait a minute, it looks like there's something up here, right? I don't put it past America, which is the point I'm making. I don't put anything past Babylon, as you would say. I don't put anything past them. I don't put it past them that when I drive down this highway on my way home tonight, some cop might decide that this is the night I'm gonna pull over a black man and blow his brains out. I don't put it past them. I don't put it past them that there's something in the food that I eat, the things that I drink, even the water. You know what I mean? Flint, Michigan, they're still drinking drudge, mud-infested water. And I hear that there's a new city out there that might have an even worse water problem, right? I can't put that past America, but that's the nature of being a slave, is what I'm saying. When you are a slave, you can try to dip through as best you can, and maybe you should, but you're not going to stop being a slave here. And at some point, you're going to encounter something that you don't like. And again, you might just be at the mercy of it. So to ask whether the school backs the whole thing of your feelings, so to speak, let the scripture answer that. Okay, Yanazor.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 9.
This is also the answer to why, when I answer your question about this, I'm not giving, this is not my opinion, right? What I may personally feel about the back, I might have read something and said, oh, I'm not, I don't give that because I don't deal with my personal feelings, right? Go ahead, Yanazor.
The heart is deceitful.
Right, now, the Bible says the heart is deceitful. What is your heart, according to the Bible? What is your heart? Right. So another way would be say your mind, right? Your heart obviously is not the thing in your chest that pumps blood. When you see the word heart in the Bible, it's talking about your mind, your thinking. Go ahead. You're from the top.
The heart is deceitful.
Your heart. So your mind, your thoughts are what?
Deceitful.
Deceitful. Go ahead.
Above all things.
Above all things. Now, does that mean that a person can't have intuition about something? No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that with your thoughts and your mind as an individual, you have to be careful. Because a lot of times, I know people whose mind, I know a woman right now, I know people who will avoid the doctor at all costs, no matter how sick they are, because they feel it. Because I don't trust no doctors. A lot of people have not trusted doctors right into a grave. You understand what I'm saying? Whether we're in Babylon, yes, but as the scriptures say, trust a physician. If you have internal hemorrhaging, you might want to go to a hospital. You know, if you're having some kind of pain somewhere, you might want to go seek a professional to go take care of that. But a lot of people will justify their fear of a doctor by saying, what? I don't feel. Something doesn't feel right to me about doctors. You know what I'm saying? We hear these things all the time. Keep going, Yanazar.
Above all things.
Use the mic. Yes, you are.
The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked.
Mm-hmm.
Who can know it?
Right. The same mind, right, that we use every day to make certain decisions is the same mind that devises horrible sins that we commit in this place. The same mind that makes a Christian pastor molest a child. It's the same mind that makes a brother take another brother's life. Okay. So our personal opinions and feelings and thoughts are not always invalid, but they need to have a system of checks and balances. We need to have what? We need to make sure that what we're thinking is, is appropriate. Okay. Go ahead, Yanazor. Finish it out with the mic.
Who can know it?
Who can know it? We can't even know our own thoughts. Sometimes we think that, again, like I said, we're thinking that we just are feeling something, it's just I just feel like this. And maybe to some degree that could be correct, but oftentimes that feeling is just to justify what we might already want to do, an inclination that we already feel comfortable with, right? So we have to, in this school, we don't go by our personal feelings on things. But again, like we said, if you don't want to get a vaccine, you're not required to, right? And if you want to know, am I appropriate for feeling that way about it? Is my feelings valid on this? Is this, something that is beneficial to me? That's where that counsel comes in. Those men, those brothers who have been doing this for some time, they've been in this truth. They've counseled a lot of other brothers in similar situations, dealing with their jobs, dealing with medical issues and things like that. That's where that comes in. That's how you get your feelings, which might be valid. You can get them kind of, get that checks and balances system in there with that. You know what I mean? So in that regard, yes, we do absolutely support brothers by helping them to figure out if what they're thinking is, is on the right track. Again, not me, because I definitely cannot counsel anybody. The brothers who counsel are men who've been doing this way longer than I have. You know what I'm saying? So any more questions on that? Come on. No sweat. Yeah. So what we'll do is I'll give you the captain's number. You might probably spoke to him before, I think. You might have spoken. Bunyamin, brother. He's a Benjamite. Trinidad. Come on. You've been in junior meet him now. Okay, no sweat. I'll get you his number. You can call him, tell you came to class, and you was having some questions about things like that. And he'll take you from there, right? So Most High in Christ, let's go ahead. We're gonna get into this Hebrew real quick, right? So being that you're new, brother, you know what I mean? What do you know about Hebrew? Shalom is what you said. No sweat, no sweat. Well, let me help you out there. There's no sweat, right? So in here in the ISUPK, right, we don't speak Yiddish, right? And we don't speak what is called modern Hebrew. So modern Hebrew, while they won't outright say it, modern Hebrew, for all intents and purposes, is practically Yiddish. Right? Why do I say that? It is a conglomerate of European languages kind of slapped on and interjected into the actual more ancient Hebrew language, right? Yiddish, Yanazar, you can get a definition of Yiddish for me, Baba Kushah, right? So the word you just said that everyone's familiar with, shalom, right, is modern Hebrew, which again is mostly really Yiddish. Ancient Hebrew does not have this vowel at all. There is no O. So it's impossible for that to be the appropriate way to say the word. Shalom is supposed to mean peace. But it's not possible for this to have been how it was spoken in ancient Israel, ancient Hebrew, because there is no O. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second. You got that, Yanazo? Use the mic if you could, Bob, for sure. Answer. Mm-hmm.
Shalom, sir.
But that's the doc. Make sure you take it off speakerphone.
Yes, sir.
Sign Christ. All right. He's going to read the definition of Yiddish in a second. But this right here, this is not possible. Original ancient Hebrew as we speak in the ISUPK, we speak ancient Hebrew, right? Also known as Lashawan Qadash, right? When we break it down, right? The word Lashawan, right, means tongue in Hebrew. Literally means tongue. But of course, metaphorically, it also is used interchangeably to mean language. So Lashawan means language. Qadash, right? Qadash is ancient Hebrew word for holy. The word holy, despite what we have learned in the Christian church, does not mean, again, as I always say, Yanazar, how well you can bang a tambourine or how well you can sing. It literally means set apart or separated. All right. Qadash is ancient Hebrew. If we were to look up this word in modern Hebrew, and again, Yanazo, you got that definition of Yiddish? Go ahead and read that real fast.
Okay. Yiddish, a High German language written in Hebrew characters that is spoken by Jews and descendant of Jews of Central and Eastern European origin.
Right.
One more thing, sir,
please,
if I may.
Mm-hmm.
First known use, 1871.
Wow. 1871. Please, go ahead, brother.
Like, I just got this list. Somebody posted the list of the years and the origin of religions. And like all of them was like in the 1800s, man. Just like
absolutely. 1871. That's only what? Israel was established as a country in 1948. So about 70 years before then, right? But of course, no one was speaking this language in ancient times. It didn't exist. Hold on, I got little issues with my internet here real quick. No, that definition is perfect. right? But I want to get this word, right? But you see, it's German, essentially. It's German Hebrew. Here we go. Now, modern Hebrew doesn't say Qadash. We know the characters, right? And we're going to break down all the letters in a minute. We know the characters. Hebrew was written from right to left, not from left to right like English, right? So English is left to right. Hebrew was written from right to left. So if we were to write it in ancient, with ancient letters, this is how it would look. Qadash. Qadash. If we would write it in Assyrian letters, Qadash. But in Yiddish, modern Hebrew, this word is pronounced like this. Qadash. The problem is, first of all, this is not the correct character because the ka, right, is a different letter. This is a qua. It's a completely different letter. That's already wrong. But let's forget that for now. Look at the usage of vowels. O, E, Kodesh. But in ancient, Qadash, right? Because in ancient Hebrew, there's only one vowel sound, which you might call the short, they call it the short A sound, right? Ah, right? Is the only vowel sound that's present in ancient Hebrew. There is no O. There is no E. You understand? There are no vowels really at all, which we'll talk about in a second. So this is an example of ancient Hebrew, real Hebrew that we speak, right? Versus what you might hear today, right? You'll hear somebody use a word like this, and you'll hear someone say shalom. You'll also hear words like, what's that holiday? Yom Kippur, right? And even Hanukkah, right? The appropriate, the actual, which is actually coming up soon at the end of the month in a couple of weeks, right? 28. The word is Hakanaka, which means dedication. Right? Now, even still, like a U, there's no U's in Hebrew either as a vowel, right? It doesn't exist. But here's the thing. We're getting into a conversation about linguistics where you have to understand sometimes this symbol does not always represent the same sound, as we know with any other vowel sound, right? So if I write like O, O could be a short O sound, a long O sound. It depends. But more often than not, when you see this, like this is a long O sound, it's using them to make this cold. Same here, desh, right? Or this might be desh or dish or dish, right? But none of these would be appropriate, right? And so to make sure that we always pronounce it correctly, we always make sure to use that vowel to represent the sound, because there's only one vowel sound, okay? Let's talk about these letters. So I know I'm saying a lot of different things. After we talk about these scriptures like we just did, we'd like to talk about the alphabet. So let's start with the basics. And we still got some new stuff to talk about today, right? We're going to introduce it after the alphabet, because we can use the alphabet to understand and write out these new words. All right? Basic stuff, but good stuff to know. So review the alphabet. Might get into that again as a refresher. We learned some cool stuff last week, right? But then we're gonna do this. We're gonna do some body parts and colors. Okay. So, starting fresh. First thing to understand is Hebrew only has consonants. It's only consonants in Hebrew, right? What does that mean? Yeah, I see that face. No sweat. Strange, right? To think about. No sweat. I'm going to look up this word. That word we talked about many times, Yanazar. Abjad. Abjad. Yes, please. Okay. Baba Kusha. Let me know when you got it. No sweat. No sweat. Go to Wikipedia. Just if you type in Abjad, I actually got it already, so you don't got to worry about it. I got it right here. Abjad. Yeah, they do. I didn't want you to look. I want you just to Google it, but I got it. It's no sweat, right? So if you look up this word Abjad, right? Abjad. You look it up on Wikipedia, Google it, put it in your Google machine. It says Abjad is a type of writing system in which, in contrast to true alphabets, each symbol or glyph stands for a consonant, in effect, leaving it to readers to infer or otherwise supply an appropriate vowel. All right? Now check this out. 1 second. The name Abjad is based on the Arabic alphabet's first, in its original order, 4 letters, corresponding to A, B, J, D, to replace the more common terms consonantary and consonantal alphabet. In describing the family of scripts classified as West Shemitic. West Shemitic. We're getting some real linguistic history here, okay? West Shemitic languages, okay? It is from these languages. If you go look up West Shemitic languages, right, it says the West Semitic languages are a proposed major subgrouping of ancient Shemitic languages. Scroll down. It consists of the clearly defined subgroups: modern South Arabian, Old South Arabian, Ethiopic, Arabic, Northwest Shemitic, this including Hebrew, Aramaic, and the extinct Amorite and Ugaritic languages. Hebrew is a Western Shemitic language. That is why it is related to Arabic. They're related. They're not the same, but they're languages that share common ancestry, right? Considering the fact Arabic, as we always talk about, Yanazar, is considered by linguists to be, of all languages spoken on earth, it's the language that shares the most with its ancient ancestors. So people speaking Arabic today are speaking a language that sounds more like what it probably sounded like thousands of years ago compared to modern Hebrew, modern Chinese, modern this, modern that, right? It contains more ancient sounds to it. Now, which we can use to explain some of the words we use. Like you mentioned shalom. How could shalom be shalom when in Arabic there is no shalom? They don't say shalom alaikum. They say what? Salam, right? Because again, Arabic originally was like this. Read it. I'm gonna read it again so we can get understanding, and we're gonna actually go to the letters and show how that works. Salakia. Khan, a type of writing system in which, in contrast to true alphabets, each symbol or glyph stands for a consonant, in effect, leaving it to readers to infer or otherwise supply an appropriate vowel. To give an example, it would be if English was written like this. It's not, but just bear with me. So let's take a word. Let's Okay. Let's take this word. What is that word? That's an H and a T. Right? You don't know, right? What about no idea? Not a word. In English, it's not a word. Because in English, this could be what? It could become hot, hat, hit. This could become, my bad, bed, bad, bid. Right? But imagine if in English, we had to supply those ourselves. If based on context, we had to know that. Gibberish, right? Means nothing. But imagine if we had to know based on context. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, room is hot, right? We can't do that in English because English is not an abjad. It is what they call a true alphabet. I don't know why they call it that, but that's what they call it. It contains its vowel sounds. But ancient Hebrew, we had to imply or we had to infer what the vowel sound was. But that wasn't a problem for us because there was only one of them. Here's what I mean. In English, we have to write again, hot, hit, so on and so forth. But if you were to look at any ancient Hebrew artifact, you'll see something like this. You'll see, okay, let's do this one, common one. This is ancient Hebrew. You'll see something like that. These three symbols or glyphs represent consonants in and of themselves. If we were to write this, if somebody was to take this and write it out in a book, you'll see them do something like this with the transliteration. You'll see that often. Representing the fact that this is, as they would call it, a daleth. A daleth. I forgot what they call the wa. I think a wow, a vav or something. They call it something else. And so they'll write it like this. And because they don't know ancient Hebrew, they'll try to figure out, okay, what's this? This is how you get, this is actually King David's name. Written exactly like this. So this da, right, like this is how you get, some people say King David's name was, yep, you already know. You'll get someone to say that, or they'll, if they don't write it with the two E's, they'll put an I in there, right? Right. I've seen worse. I've seen other ones. I've seen Daoud and Dawide and things like that. They're just trying to, they're putting the consonants and they're trying to infer what the vowels are because that's how the language works. Same thing with the Most High's name. When we see it written on the ancient scrolls, when we see it written on the artifacts, God's name is written like this. Slakia. Look up the Tetragrammaton, Yanazar, to demonstrate this as well. And this will help you see what I'm saying as well. You ever heard the name or the word Yahweh? You You all heard that. That's because in ancient Hebrew, there's no written vowels. So as we'll see in a second, people who don't really know Hebrew, just like with King David's name, which to show you, demonstrate is actually Dawada. You got that, Yanazor? Read that real quick. Use the mic.
Tetragrammaton, the Hebrew name of God, transliterated in 4 letters as YHWH or JHVH, and articulated as Yahweh or Jehovah.
Right. Because, as he just said, it's turning into 4 letters, 4 consonants. Remember, this is written from right to left. So this is the Y. This is the H. This is the W. And this, of course, is another H. Flip it around. Y, H, W, H. Right? And in the case of you speaking Yiddish or some other modern version of Hebrew, you're going to change this, and that's how you get some people, like Yanazor says, they said J, what? J, H, V, H, I think they said? Yeah. Right. J, H, V, H. So if you take this and you slap some vowels in here, what can you get? There's a lot you can get, right? With this first one, you can get, and with this one, you can get. But that's why you'll see this spelled 1,000 different ways. This would be, yeah, this is like modern, because there's no J, right, at all, right? This is modern. This goes back to what we said about Yiddish, okay? Jehovah comes from that, right? Yahweh comes from that. These are both wrong, right? But this is not wrong, and this is not wrong. This is appropriate, but you have to know how ancient Hebrew was actually spoken, what it sounded like. You have to know what it was, the inflections, and how we inferred that vowel. It was easier for us to infer that vowel because there was only one. There was only one way to say it. We didn't have to think about it. So just get this out the way, because this is crazy, right? That is completely incorrect. But those are letters that the J and the V are letters that are even modern to English, right? And what we do is we infer the letters appropriately with that single vowel that we know, that short A. Giving us, right, the Most High's name, his appropriate name. The Tetragrammaton, the name, his name. The Tetragrammaton is correct. It is just showing you that, okay, in our language, we use 4 letters to make this. Because as you'll see from the sign, what we're about to do when we go into the actual alphabet, this goes together. It's implied. It's implied. You know what I'm saying? And we know to drop this based on the connectors, which we'll talk about in a minute as well. All right? But that's just how it functions. That's how we write words. All right? That's how we write the words. So let's get into the ancient alphabet, okay, where all of this comes from. But we understand what an abjad is and how this language functions, right, on paper. Or the writing system functions. All right. So let's see what we got. Bear with me just a second. I need a different marker because this one is. We need some marker. right. And Salakia for those watching online, if you can't really see it, I know it's a little dim. These letters. How many letters, Giannis, are 22? 22 letters, right? Going back to what we just learned, each letter is representative at its basic function as a consonant, right? Now, what you'll see up here, we're gonna show the same thing right here, right? And we're gonna pronounce them. This first letter is it should sound familiar, is an ah. So I'll use a different marker to show. The red one. Yeah, there we go. Ah, right? Ba. Does anybody know why the alphabet is called the alphabet? Yanazar, I know you know. No sweat, right? So this language is older than any other language. While not documented, because of course they'll tell you that Akkadian and Egyptian languages are older. But as people read in the Bible, we understand that this language precedes, this is the language that Adam would have understood, right? Adam saw these things, these glyphs, or the things that represented these glyphs, right? And Adam understood this. And the first two letters are ba, which coincide with the first two letters of damn near every language that has come since. Coincides with the first two letters of the English language, right? A and B. And the word alphabet comes from the first two letters of what alphabet? Yanazor.
Greek.
Greek, right? The alphabet was originally called the alpha beta, right? Alpha beta, representing the first two letters of the Greek alphabet, alpha and beta, which they borrow, okay? But that's where the word alphabet comes from. And we see here at the beginning of Hebrew the exact same thing. Ba. All right. Now we continue. These first two letters also represent the word for father, right? Abba. Abba. Ga. Da. Ha. Wa. Za. Now, doesn't that make sense? Right? Doesn't that make sense? The ah. If I flip that to the right by about 90 degrees, it'll look like an A. Za. This right here is a ka, right? Ka. This is a ta, right? Same thing. We can see the T. It's like an X, but if you turn it, it's like a T. This is the ya. This is the ka, not to be confused with the ka, which is a little bit softer. Ka versus ka, right? Same thing. You know, if we take this, the ka, turn it the other way around, my crude drawings, excuse me. Turn it the other way around. We can almost see, well, if we get rid of all of this, you know, seems like a K. Okay? Ka. I bet you can't guess what that is. La, right? Same thing here. This is a ma. If we flip it around, it would look something like, like that, which we can clearly see what's going on. And then the same thing with the next one. All right? There's an in there. So ma, na. This is a sa. This is I, an interesting letter, because again, as we're going to talk about, it's a consonant. It's a vowel sound, but it functions in writing as a consonant. We'll show that in a minute. Pa, taza, taza, kwa, ra, sha, and tha. Okay? Abagada hawa za ha ta ya ka la ma na sa I pa taza kwa ra sha tha. Okay? Now, before we go further, like I said about function, because this is important. Grasping this will help when it's time for us to form words out of this. Okay, we're gonna get to the point we can write shalom, right? With this, it's very simple, very easy. But on function, how can I say? So we've already kind of gotten to understand. Okay, like all these letters are consonants. It's weird to think about, but okay, I get it. You write the consonants, and now you gotta just what you gotta put the A in there, and you just gotta kind of figure out where it goes, and that's how you form your word. Okay, that's a simplified version, but we get it. But how can you have a letter or a sound like ah or I and say it's a consonant? How is that possible? That doesn't make any sense. Here's how. What does a vowel do? What does a vowel do? Y'all, so give me the definition of vowel. Because what a vowel does is vastly different from just how a vowel sounds. And that's the key to understanding how this works. You got it, Yanazor? Read it, please.
A vowel. Vowels, plural. A speech sound which is produced by comparatively open configuration of the vocal tract.
Right, now, that's the complicated way of saying the thing we just said before, where I said, this is a vowel sound. Ah is a vowel sound. Sonically just means, like he said, comparatively, an open version or open use of the vocal tract, meaning that there's nothing that is stopping the airflow, right? There's nothing that is, we're going to read that probably in a few seconds, but with consonants, in terms of sound, you're using your parts of your mouth to impede the flow of air. P, use your lips. T, using your teeth and your tongue. N, ma, so on and so forth. But in vowel sounds, there's a comparatively no infraction, no kind of stopping of the airflow. A, E, I, O, right? Sonically, what it sounds like. So based on that part, yeah, vowel sound. Vowel sound. Go ahead, Yanazor.
Open configuration of the vocal tract with vibration of the vocal cords, but without audible friction.
Without audible friction, as in the T's and the M's, so on.
And which is a unit of
This
sound.
is the part. Which is a what?
Which is a unit of sound.
Unit of sound. Go ahead.
System of a language that forms the nucleus of a syllable.
That forms the what?
The nucleus of a syllable.
The nucleus of a syllable, right? That, coupled with the fact, as we read about in Abjad, is that what? Only in true alphabets, right, are the vowels written. These letters do not form, as what Yanazar just said, they don't form the nucleus of a what? A syllable.
Of a syllable.
But remember before, when we wrote this, when we wrote or this, or we said this was what? These are not words. They mean nothing. Why? Because they don't have a vowel. The vowel in English is what forms the what? Nucleus of a syllable. We need the O to make hot. We need the A to make man. We need the E to make bed. We can't do it without it. And literally, those are written in the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, so on, right? In our language, none of these symbols form the nucleus of a syllable. None of them. Meaning what? Going back to the word that the brother, he knew the version that most of us are familiar with, the modern Hebrew, but now let's learn the ancient Hebrew way of saying it, right? Right here. What's that word? Shalom. Right? Shalom. But again, 3 letters. If we wrote this in English, it would have what? S-H-A-L-A-M. Khan, right? It would have more letters. But that's because the vowels, the connectors between them they're there, but they're not there. It's not written, right? You can almost imagine, like I always say, you could almost imagine that in between each of these, and even after, is that short A sound. And then we use the connectors, these things, to tell us when to leave it alone and when to eliminate one. They're part of the writing system, right? But they're not letters, but they're part of the writing system so we can know when we're using. Say it again? That's a good way to say it. So you know how it flows and you know when to utilize it. So you know where to form the nucleus, where you know where to form the syllables, better yet. That's the best way to put it. And how many syllables? The word shalom has 2 syllables. We have 2 connectors. This one, that frown under a letter by itself tells you that implied, that short A vowel sound, because this is a sha, it's going to keep it by itself, sha. Then when you see 2 letters with the smile underneath, it tells you what? This la and this ma are going to share this implied sound. And whatever sound would have been here is cut off. They're going to share. They're together. So it becomes sha, lum. You understand what I'm saying? And that's how we do that. Okay? Now, with that being said, we can do this with other words and knowing how to put it, because we know now that's what it is. That's how you can have a bunch of consonants and you can say that, oh, that's not, even though it's a vowel sound, on when you're writing it, I can't do this. Now in Yiddish they do this. They're wrong, but in ancient Hebrew this is impossible and you cannot do it. You cannot. Let's see one. Okay, we'll do the I. We'll do the I. I'm trying to think of a word. Okay, King David's name. King David's name is Dawada in ancient Hebrew. Da, wa, da. That's his name. His name is not Daweed. That is wrong. But just to show you, if we tried this is false. Because how would we connect it? We go say da. This is how they would attempt to do it or suggest it can go. That you can connect these like this, which you cannot do. This cannot connect other consonants. It's not possible. This is a consonant. This is a consonant. This is a consonant. This symbol cannot make a syllable. Right? That's what in English that can happen. One little interior. This is what makes the syllable, as Yanazar said. Yeah, please. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the smile, right? The upside down, the frown, so to speak, doesn't connect. Exactly. Just two. That's the point. It's not possible because, again, unlike English, these are all consonants. They all function as consonants on paper. So you can't have three of them conjoined. It's not possible. You can only connect two of them at any given time. Yeah, please. Mm-hmm. The I. Mm-hmm. That's the sound it makes. It's an I. That's what I'm saying. It's its own vowel sound, but it doesn't function as a vowel in terms of. Yeah, please. Okay. No, yeah, this does not have the A sound at all. It's I, unless it's connected to an A sound, in which case, for example, Jacob. Jacob's name in ancient Hebrew is, hold on, let me make sure I spell it correctly. I think this is right. Mm-hmm. It's Yaiquab. Yaiquab. So this is Yah, right? Well, actually, really, it doesn't really connect. It doesn't connect. So it's still kind of, in a way, same thing. It doesn't have an A on its own, but it still can function in a way. It can be used, can be utilized, but it doesn't really connect. Okay. So this right here, yeah, that's Yah. Yeah, it's like Yaiquab. But when you say it together, it's Yaiquab, but it doesn't connect. But still, it's an I sound. So when we write it out, it's there. And you have to say it. Yaiquab, Yaiquab, Yaiquab. Con. Same thing, that's Jacob's name. Now, you've heard the name Jesus, right? You familiar with that name? Of course, right? We all are. Did you know that's not his name? Of course, that's not his name. Now, we've heard different ones, right? We've heard people say, what's some of the different ones people say? What's his name? What have we heard? Yeah, Jesus. What? Yeshua. Right? Different one. Please. Mm-hmm. Yakub, the big head scientist, right? The big head scientist. Yeah, I'm sure you know more on that. You know some other Yanazar?
Yeah, they
Use the mic,
if I may, sir.
please.
They used that story when Jacob was breeding the different type of sheep, and he wound up with the speckled and the spotted sheep and the brown sheep. They used that story as the grafting of the white man out of. Yeah, so Jacob is supposed to be this big head scientist who grafted, who began to graft the white man from the black man.
Not even close.
It's absolutely insane because, like in the biblical story, it's actually the sheep is something that was there before this occurred, meaning that the sheep was something that he earned. You understand what I'm saying? And they were part of his property. It had nothing to do with human beings. Right. At all.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a fable and a fairy tale. Jacob Yaiquab was a brother. He was just a guy. He was not a big. You ever seen? I know you've seen the picture. The biggest scientist. He has a gigantic, veiny head, half bald head. Looks crazy. That's not in the Bible at all. Jacob was a brother who was, of course, the progenitor or the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. You know what I'm saying? Simple and plain, right? Just like, and that's how we're all family. All blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, we have the same. Yeah. So I would love to hear more about that. Just for entertainment's sake, to know what their version of it is. Yeah, I little tidbits I've seen of it, but I don't know too much about it. But yeah, that's not in the Bible. Yeah. We can get into it one day, But no, it don't work like that. But yeah, Yahweh, and then so with Jesus, right? This is literally, you can look it up, his name spelled. Because we know that, again, who we ignorantly call Jesus has the same name as, you know, Giannis already. Hold on one second. I'll give you a second. I'll see the brother might know. What other person in the Bible had actually the same name as Jesus? It's just that they're translated differently because one was translated directly from Hebrew and the other was translated from what? From Greek. But these two people have the exact same name. Okay, I got you. No sweat, brother. You know what I mean? That's an excellent answer, right? Because we all been there. And it was a time when I didn't know, you know? I didn't know this. And it amazed me. It amazed me when I found this out. So Jesus, right? This name comes from the fact that the New Testament was translated. No sweat. It comes from the fact that the New Testament was translated from Greek. There is no Hebrew scroll or Hebrew text for the New Testament. It was written in Greek because that was the predominant language spoken other than Latin at the time, right? Greek. So that's how this. So let me do this first. So right in ancient Hebrew, it's just ancient. This is how his name is written. That's his name in Hebrew. This is the one we see in the New Testament because it comes from Greek. It's translated into English from Greek. His name in the Old Testament, the same name that comes from the same word you're seeing right here, that's what his name is. That's correct. But the name in the Old Testament, right? That's why people say what? Yeshua and things like that, right? This, of course, is incorrect because you have to adhere to the writing of his name. This is what it comes from. And if we do the same thing we did before with the Most High's name, and now so we'll erase this, and you already did it. You know what I'm saying? That's Tawad. That's excellent work because that's how it goes. So now we do the same thing. We transliterate each one. This would be this. And of course, we just add the appropriate. And it's connected. Shot. Right? So it would be like how it shot, right? Like I know it looks a little funny because it's the other way. Yahweh shot. All right? That's his name. Okay? And again, we're seeing how these things function within the lettering. All right? So now let's get one more, and we'll go to the next form of the alphabet. Mm-hmm. The I actually was connected. It is connected. Mm-hmm. Exactly, because it's connected. Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying, but like in that circumstance, because the I is providing a vowel sound. So it would be, I could write that. How would I say it? Exactly. Right? Y'all remember that group? Yeah. Remember Rashad? Yeah. You know what I mean? That a good song. Yeah, I'm gonna get into it. But yeah, I would just say I would still be saying shy, right? So just to kind of show to make it simpler and connected, we just kind of just eliminate that. But you know, you're right. You easily could write it that way. You know what I mean? But it's just easier to say that. You know what I'm saying? Because they sound the same. Which goes back to something else I was alluding to earlier, is that sometimes you got to remember with some of these letters, even if they have a different a different letter representing it in the transliteration. So transliteration just meaning we're transferring the sound from one language to another, right? So we're using, say, English letters. So these are transliterations. We're using English letters to mimic the sound of a completely separate language. As I always say, no different than saying Jackie Chan, Jet Li. Li and Chan are not English words. But if I write this, it's just so you can say it. You're saying a Chinese word, but I'm using English letters to kind of get that point across. You understand what I'm saying? All right. But what was I about to do? I'm gonna do one more word. Yeah, let's just do one more before we go to the next. All right. So knowing this now, we'll just use LASHAWAN Qadash, right? We'll use LASHAWAN Qadash. Knowing what we know, how would we go about transferring this from this transliteration, these English letters, back into pure ancient Hebrew letters? How will we start? We start from the right. And what would be our first letter? Yes, what would be our first letter? Which we call you don't want to call it a W because it might confuse somebody. Now, I know what you mean, the symbol that looks like a W. So we'll just go with the translate. We'll just say we'll use the Shah. Mm-hmm. And you'd be correct. Or the Na. How will we do that? How will we write this? How will we use our connectors to drop? So remember, we got these imaginary. It's a La, a Sha, a Wa, and a Na. That's literally the four letters we have. How do we make sure that it says LASHAWAN and not LASHAWANA? Yup. Mm-hmm. Give him a hand. I'll tell you, a lot of people can't get that on the first go. I know I couldn't. That's exactly what you would do. And what these do, so like for my hand ready, is they ensure that we say this, we say La, Sha. And because these are connected, Wan, LASHAWAN, right? Excellent. And again, I always like to point out as well, man, we are reading ancient texts. I'm saying, like I said, look up, if I could real quick before we do this next letter and go into the next part of the alphabet. Salakia, what's this? Oh, that's the joint for the Passover. Oh, they put a video out for the Passover? Ooh wee.
That means they have
The venue?
yeah, the venue, they have
Yeah, the venue, yeah, it's been set. Yeah.
I got the address for the venue. I'm saying they have reservation.
Oh, wait, yeah, I gotta watch that in a few minutes. Salakia. Can Most High in Christ. But yeah, what was I about to say? So like, I think I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Mm-hmm. Right. It was something related to this. I can't think of it. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. But no sweat. Let's just do Qadash, right? So LASHAWAN, right? And then so now we got to do the next part, LASHAWAN Qadash. Tongue that is holy, right? Or language that is holy, language that is set apart. Okay? How will we say Qadash? How do we start? Qua, perfect. Qua. Uh-huh. In the shop. And you'd be correct. Give him another hand. LASHAWAN Qadash. Simple. I know what I was saying. What I was looking up was some of the artifacts. So I mentioned a few often. Mesha Stele is one. Right. I'm going to show this to the class. Which one is that? New Mexico? That's one for sure. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I haven't heard about that.
I heard about it. They want to give you no information.
Right. They won't let people go. Mm-hmm. Egyptology. Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying. Right. Uh-huh. I got you. More than likely. Right. Of course, because we know that our, you know what I'm saying, our Hispanic brothers, Native American Indian brothers, as the brother was saying before, you know, that's why you find artifacts, ancient artifacts, because they've been here for thousands of years, and 100% were writing in Hebrew. You understand? And there's elements of our culture that stuck with them even when they went into idolatry, which is why they still wear their fringes a certain way. Please, Yanazo.
If I may, you know, one of the vicious, wicked tricks that they play, they want you to think that the natives had no written language. You understand? Because they to keep proving to the world that they were savages when they came over here. That's one of the things that they did. They hid, like I was listening to Captain Qadash, if I may, sir.
Please.
And he brought out that in 18, I think it was in the 1870s, this guy who was head of the precursor of the Smithsonian, I forgot the name of it. They have a law that you cannot connect any pictographical language or artifact that you find in the Western Hemisphere to the ancient world. Like it's illegal to do so. Yeah, he brought it out in Cross the Line Radio episode Thursday night.
Most High in Christ. I got to see that one. Nah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. This is what they do. Keeping us from finding out this truth for real. You know what I'm saying? For real. No, absolutely. It's crazy. It's crazy. And we got many Gadite brothers, man. Like, you know what I'm saying, in the school. A lot of brothers think they Judites and they might be Gad. So Gad is the tribe that the so-called Native American Indians, they're Gadites. You know what I'm saying? That's the tribe that they coincide with their forefather. You know what I'm saying? Of the 12 sons, right? So you got the Gadites. And so you can look at these and it'll show you who they represent. Like the tribe of Levi are Haitian brothers, right? Bunyamin, which is the ancient way of saying it, Bunyamin, so-called West Indies, so Trinidad, Jamaica, you know. Well, because that tribe was on that isle. So again, so these tribes were kind of, how do I say it? They knew their tribes when this dispersion happened. And with all these different tribes ended up going to different places. Of course, they congregated with each other because that's who their main family was, right? And so Levi ended up on that island next to Simeon. And that's actually a scripture in the Bible that tells you that Simeon and Levi were going to be right next to each other. The book of Genesis chapter 49 almost gives you a run. It gives you a rundown of all the tribes and their characteristics. You understand? Different characteristics. Then you combine that with archaeology. Matter of fact, Captain Qadash has a lecture he brought out where he kind of broke down, you know what I'm saying, the tribes and things like that. So that's how we understand and know what tribes went where and who was with what. The scriptures absolutely tell you that Simeon and Levi were going to be together. And it also tells you about the situation going on down there right now, how they hate each other. They hate each other's guts.
Yeah, but that's the scripture. It says that they would live, they would dwell together, but they won't even recognize each other as brothers.
Right.
And instruments of cruelty would be in their habitation.
And they both be doing that voodoo. Now, I know that the Simeonites, they don't call it voodoo. They
call it Santeria.
Santeria, right? But they absolutely can't stand each other, hate each other's guts. They're really the same. They're really the same. This is, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up, you know what I'm saying, in New York with so many, you know, Yanazor, so many Dominicans up there in Washington Heights. Ooh, we. Don't get that exactly. Don't call them black. You know what I mean? But they black. You know what I'm saying? You go to their house, they got a picture of their grandmother, and she looked like me. Straight up. You know what I'm saying? Their grandfather looked like my grandfather, right? And that's how it is. But yeah, all of these tribes are all brothers, man. These are our people. You know what I'm saying? You can see, please.
He says something about the
Gad,
tribe of Gad.
Tribe of Gad, the so-called Native American Indians.
So what were you saying? Like it's a set people who think they're that, or
no? Oh, what I was saying was that with the tribe of Gad, to show you how much we're brothers and we're family. There's a lot of brothers who, because of American oppression and because of how America has classified us, a lot of brothers think they're Judah. A lot of brothers think they're so-called Negroes. So I'm not saying that they're not or they may not be, but a lot of brothers have found out later on they're actually not Judites. They're actually Gadites. There's been plenty of brothers, you know what I'm saying, who think to themselves, you know, oh yeah, you know, I came on the slave ship. No, your ancestors were here already. We got brothers in the school like Captain Soccer War. You look at him, you think that's a black man. He's a Gad. He's a Native American Indian. Young man, Jeremy, he's a Gadite. Go ahead. Okay, word. I could believe it. Good. Right. Yeah, I did hear about that. A lot of brothers end up finding out that their ancestors, actually their father's father was actually a Gadite. You know what I'm saying? I know most of us have Gadite blood in us anyway. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's on the other side. I know for a fact that my father's mother's side, my grandmother that raised me, her grandfather was a Gadite. Straight up, 100%. It's not even debatable. You understand? So these tribes and that's why we all really look alike. People be like, oh no, the so-called Hispanics. No, yeah, they look like that now. You looking at some Hispanic brother who might have had some European descent on his mother's side or so on and so forth. But if you look at a picture of his father's father's father or his grandfather, you're gonna see a black man that looks like Roberto Clemente. Go ahead.
If I may, sir, like if there's a book called Black Indians, I'm sure you heard of it. Well, this is a book and has a lot of pictures and paintings and stuff of, you know, the earlier paintings of the Native Americans when they came over here, you know, and they much, much darker than they appear now. Sometimes they even appear as Negroes.
Right. But as the scriptures say, right, my people are unto me as what? A speckled bird. A speckled bird. We've always come in different shades and things of that nature. Always. So don't let that throw you off. You know what I'm saying? Light skin, dark skin. I mean, that's been going on since even back in the biblical times, which is why Solomon said what? He said, I am black, but comely. Yeah, I'm dark skinned. Yeah, I'm black, but I'm beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Because we've always kind of had that thing. That's just a thing that we deal with as Israelites. All right. Most High in Christ. Let's see where the time. All right, we got about 20 minutes to go. Let's do this next alphabet. So This is ancient. We all love this. It's everybody's favorite, and rightfully so. This is ours to the T. How our ancestors wrote. You know what I'm saying? King Solomon, Moses would have written and been very familiar with this. But now here's the harsh reality: is that this is hard to come by. So when you're reading this, when you see it, like I said, you can look up like the what's the one Yanazar in New Mexico? The Los Lunas stone, or the Moabite stone, or the Meshestele, huh? Yeah, those are written in this. Meshestele, Moabite stone, Los Lunas stone are written. Say it again? Yes. The Los Lunas stone is in this continent. Mm-hmm. God. Yeah, that joint, you go watch that on YouTube. It might be on YouTube, I think. You go watch that joint, he breaks it down with all the tribes. Mm-hmm. Right. And he shows a lot of different artifacts that were found on this side to show America. North and south. North and south and central. Right. To show how in the hell is ancient Hebrew over here? Because they spoke it. They brought it over here. You understand? That's how. Okay? Hold on a second, Yanzo. Well, no, they brought it because they were fleeing conquest. So again, that's a more of a historical thing, but like 9.5 tribes after the Assyrian captivity ended up fleeing. They ended up kind of running away, and that's how they ended up here thousands of years before the oppressor showed his face. That's why. So some of our ancestors, who those of us who have our native Indian and so on and so forth, they came here thousands of years ago, right? Fleeing the captivity over there by the Assyrians and so on and so forth. Made their way over here, and they still had their language. They still had this. They still had the 10 Commandments. They still had an understanding of their relationship with the Most High. You understand? It was over time, right, that they started to change and started to worship totem poles and birds and things like that. But alas, during the Assyrian captivity, this just kind of, I won't say phased out. It just became, almost fell out of style a little bit, you could say, right? And we started to use an Assyrian writing system. So I'm going to erase this. Still the same letters. So as I told a brother before, what we are writing now is not a new language. It's not a change in the language. It's still our language. It's still Lashawan Qadash. We're still speaking the same thing. It's just different symbols, right? Different symbols. You won't see this unless you're looking at an ancient artifact. But this one you're going to see, this is the one that the so-called Jewish man uses every day. He uses this all the time. So what I said again? This is what's written on the wine bottles on the Manischewitz. Yeah, you're absolutely right, brother. This is what's written on that. And why we learn it is because we need to be able to read. We need to be able to read different things appropriately. So when we want to read a Tanakh, as I'm going to show in a second, these letters are used. Right, exactly, because we're speaking it correctly. This is not Yiddish. Yiddish, they're using the same symbols, but it's being pronounced wrong. Now, brother, you from Trinidad, correct? Let me ask you a question. What does this mean? Or if I write that, what's that? Wagwan, right? Is that English? Right, they wouldn't call it English, but those are definitely English letters. Right. Exactly. But yet WAHGWAN are absolutely English letters. But if I write that, you know what that means. But I'm gonna tell you, an oppressor will look at this and be like, I don't know what the hell, what is that? I don't know, right? They'll say that's not English. So you can use a symbol of writing, right, and still not necessarily or technically be speaking the same language, right? So that's what we're going to do right here. So while yes, the oppressor he's familiar with these letters or with these symbols. I bet that's the better way to put it. He's familiar with these symbols, but he is not familiar with LASHAWAN Qadash. He is not familiar with ancient Hebrew. And because of that, he does not know how to speak this. So when I write these letters, so in the case of, say, like a word like word I've been saying Khan, right? Which means yes in Hebrew. All right. How I'm saying it, he won't say it the same way. But let me use one that I know for sure he's going to say different than me. He'll say, what's the word? Okay, so here's one. Which goes back to what we said about vowels. Let me write out the alphabet first so not to confuse you, and then we'll do it. So you can know what symbols. But you see them right there, but nonetheless, I want to get them up on the board. I want to use green, but I don't want to look like Christmas on this board. So I'm not doing it. Oh, let's forget this one. There we go. Jeez. Yeah. Abaga. Let me see. I think I might have it backwards though. Yeah, I got it backwards. The water. That's better. Yeah, it faces that way. The water. Appreciate it. See? That should be correct. So now, let me show you the Tanakh, because this is what we read in the Sabbath service. We don't play games here in the ISUPK. This is what we do as priests and prophets of the Lord. So when we do the Sabbath service, as we will in the morning, we will read from a Tanakh. And this is what I was telling you about commonality and what we're going to see more often. The ancient, while we do have copies of it, of the Tanakh or the Torah in ancient, right? You have to familiarize yourself with this because this is what you're going to see. Yeah. Absolutely. But we're not reading it the way the oppressor's reading it. So if the oppressor was to read this, he's going to say things like Qadash and things like that, words that we would never use because we're reading Lashawan Qadash. You see, all I did was erase the symbol. I didn't change the transliteration. I didn't change what they represent. Okay? Another thing, and it's a lot to learn, especially, first time hearing about it. But if you were to look at, we'll look up one. Please.
Within the Tanakh, both we read from there as well as the Yiddish people. So the same, composition of symbols are going to be spoken two different ways depending on the speaker.
Absolutely. As I again, because we're going to understand, it's no different than, I remember, just to give an example, right? To try to help you understand, right? I get your question, and it's an excellent question. Well, actually, not even that, because I want to confuse you, but the meaning wouldn't be the same because they don't understand the Bible. They didn't write the Bible. The Bible was written by black people, but people who would become known later on as so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. Understand? We know, it's like, I'm not from Trinidad. I'm not from the West Indies, but that culture connects to mine a certain way because we're the same. You understand? That's why I can understand Vibes Cartel. You know what I'm saying? Even if I don't owe, and Captain I thought I get in the car with him, he playing all that stuff. I don't know what, half the time I don't, some of it I get because I grew up in New York, so like, I've been around it more than certain other brothers, right? But even still, there's some stuff I just can't catch. You know what I'm saying? But it resonates with my spirit a certain way because Vibes Cartel is a nigga just like I am. I was there that night. Matter of fact, they was playing some fly stuff that night too. What was playing? What's my man's name? Adonia, right? They was playing all that fly stuff, but it's like I may not know what he's saying, but I get it. Exactly, right? Just like sometimes some stuff in the States, some stuff we play, what I mean, like resonates with y'all the same way. So going back to this thing with the language, the symbol linguistically is a placeholder for a sound. That's it. In language, that is all it is. It is just a placeholder for sound and nothing else. Now, there's more to the story. I'm simplifying it. But for all intents and purposes, if I write a G, this is just to make you understand I'm trying to make this sound. Okay? The difference is, while I'm reading the Tanakh, I'm reading Lashawan Qadash. Not me personally, but the men above me and the men before me investigated and understood, oh, wait a minute. Ancient Hebrew had one vowel sound. Ancient Hebrew was spoken like this. Oh, ancient Hebrew was an abjad. You couldn't use different letters to make vowels and things. They understood that. And so now I'm reading it based on that. Whereas the oppressor or the so-called Jewish man who is not a real Jew, he's going to read it. Let me go to the blue letter, right? And pick a word. I'm just going to pick a word. So let's say, here we go. Word for praise. Make sure this is the right one so I can bear with me just a second. Here we go. This is perfect, right? This is a perfect word to use. Now, I'm going to write it out. Yanazar will recognize this immediately. Of course, if my handwriting holds up. Yanazar, what is that word? Which is? Mm-hmm. Slow down and think about it. You saying it. I know.
Oh man. That is ridiculous. The water.
Right. Thawada, which means
Thank
thank you. Right. Let's see. One of my favorite things to do, Yanazar, as you know. Now, this is the word. Now, the so-called Jewish man, same letters, but his looks like this. It has these stupid, funky symbols like this. Right? All over the place that you will not find in any ancient Israelite artifact. They didn't exist. This is made up nonsense that they added so they can start injecting other vowels and sounds. Right? Exactly. So they're going to see these same four letters, but they're going to see these little dots everywhere. And this is what they're going to say. They're not going to say Thawada. Like I'll say, if you hand me something with Thawada, brother, Thawada. This is what they're going to say. Play the audio.
Strong's H 8426. Todah. Todah.
That's what they're going to say. They're going to see the same four letters and they're going to say Todah. Why? Because they're going to turn this wa because of this dot. Now, this is a wa. That's what it is. But to them, while we're going, that's a tha, that's a wa, that's a da, that's a ha, but they're connected. So it's thawada. They're going, because of this, instead of tha, it's tho. Right? No, not because of this, excuse me. Because this dot is over this wa, it stops being a wa to them and becomes a o. So this becomes tho, and then this is da. Thoda. Thoda. You understand? So that's how we got the same symbols for the most part, but they're pronounced because they're not reading ancient Hebrew. They're not trying to. They're reading what? Yiddish. They're reading modern Hebrew. These little dots are called nakud. Nakud. That's what those are. Please. Not alphabets themselves, they're more symbols that designate or call a certain pronunciation based on where they fall amongst the letters. But we didn't have them, is what I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, please. They don't have more letters, but they've had injected these different little symbols so that give them access to do different things with the language. As is this case, I cannot take tha, wa, da, and ha and say, you know what? I don't want this to be a wa. I want it to be a vowel. So I'm going to turn it into an o and say thod. I can't do that because I'm reading ancient Hebrew and that wasn't there. It didn't exist. They made that up later so they can say thoda and thode and so on and add different vowels and so on and so forth, right? But I don't care. I don't focus on what they do. I'm reading ancient Hebrew, right? Even with these symbols, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ignore. I'm gonna get rid of this and this. You can. And it was funny. You can actually do this on blueletterbible.org. So on your phone. So if you want to read the Hebrew, which I advise you to do, you know what I'm saying? Now that you watch this, and if you're interested, just go to blueletterbible.org on your phone. Go to Genesis 1 and 1, and there's a little tab to the left that says Tools. When you click on it, this is what's going to pop up. And at first, you're going to see a bunch of little dots everywhere, but they literally give you an option to get rid of them. it doesn't turn into ancient. It's still it's called Assyrian Hebrew because we picked up these symbols during the Assyrian captivity, right? We were in captivity in Assyria, but it won't turn into ancient. But what it will do is it will show you more closely what we would have read back then. Because even when we first started using these symbols, those little dots came about during the Masoretes, like way later. You know, even when we were in the Assyrian captivities before Christ, way before Christ, honestly. And those dots were not there. Those dots came after Christ. You understand what I'm saying? So that's a recent injection going back to what we said about them speaking Yiddish or speaking this modern Hebrew. So you can go to a blue letter. So as you can see on my phone, right? You'll see when you go to a scripture, you got all of this, but you see all the little dots everywhere, right? But guess what? Show vowel points. Vowel points. We can click it and it all disappears because they recognize, they know that crap doesn't belong there. No sweat, no problem. All right. We just about out of time. I'm just going to write the last few letters with this Assyrian, okay? And we'll pick up. We wanted to get into some more stuff, but, you know, you asked us some excellent questions, but I really appreciate it. Just one more thing. There's 5 letters in the Assyrian that have a different symbol when they're at the end of a word, okay? Those 5 letters are, excuse me, right, the water. So we'll do this one. Ka. And what else, Yanazor? Uh-huh. Ka. Ka, the ma, the na, the pa, right? Pa, and the tizah. Right? Okay. Ka, ma, na, pa, tizah, taza. All right. At the end of a word, these are the symbols that will be used. Right? You gotta keep that in mind. It'll help you when you're reading the Tanakh, when you're reading the Hebrew. All right. Okay, let me show an example real quick before we get up out of here, right? So let's take shalom. In ancient, it would be shalom. Simple and plain, no change to the symbols. If you write shalom in Assyrian, you have to account for that. So, shalom. We used this symbol instead of this one. You know what I'm saying? Same sound, right? Just a different symbol because it appears at the end of a word. You understand? And then let's say I said, your piece, right? To say your, possessive pronoun at the end of it's a suffix that goes at the end of a word is ka, right? But now, so when I write shalom, but if I got to say shalom ka, it's like that's Jesus Christ. My handwriting is atrocious. Excuse me, pardon me. Shalom. Right? Same. This is all the same. Shalom. But guess what? Now it's not going to be at the end of the word. So I'm going to use the regular symbol. But guess what? The ka, I got to use this one. Shalom ka. Okay. And there's a lot more to learn on this front. And it's very important for us to learn it. Because what ends up happening is we learn more about our culture, right? Same thing, again, as we talked about, say, with a person kind of becoming more familiar with the speech patterns of a brother in the West Indies, you're going to learn something about the culture of the West Indies by understanding certain words that are used, right? I would like to sing a certain song by Buju right now, but I won't do it because I don't want them to cut my YouTube. You know what I mean? But you know what song I'm talking about, right? Right there. That by definition, by how they talk, you learn something about how they think and how they are. I'm saying their personalities as a culture, as a nation. So it's important to us to do the same thing as we get an understanding of our ways of speech, because it shows insight into the fact that we're Israelites. You can actually see it in our language. So going forward, we're going to continue to build up off of this, you know what I'm saying, get more understanding, and go into some of the other things we wanted to talk about. Like today, we're going to get into body parts and colors, but we'll save that for next week. No sweat, no problem. Wanted to make sure the brother got a good, solid, foundational understanding of the letters. But before we go ahead and end the class, is there any other questions you might have based on what we talked about today? Okay, most high in Christ, bro. Good to see you again. Hope you come back. You know what I mean? So with that, let me check online if we have any questions online. Oh no, you too are, brother. You too are, brother. Do your thing. Yeah, I don't see any questions online, but while the brothers hit the restroom, we want to recall again, right? These 5 joints, these 5 letters, if any of these appear at the end of a word, you have to use that symbol. Okay, have to remember that. Another thing, another reason why people with the Assyrian, why it's a little tougher, and nobody likes the Assyrian. You said an excellent point earlier, brother, when you said it's written on. When you say it was written on this, you said this is what's written on the wine. It's true, right? As you can see, this is not now. I had to obtain this from a brother, right? That's how I had to go about to get it and be able to get it, right? And even that word we wrote, this word right here, it's written on the side of it, but doesn't have any of those dots. But guess what? They still would look at this and they would say Thoda, regardless. But I'm not saying that because that's not ancient Hebrew. I'm going to speak. I read these words. I'm not going to say Yahweh. I'm not going to say Jehovah. I'm going to say Yahweh. But why Yahaya? Shabak. It's like a Shabbath. Tashabak. Ath. Yahweh. Alahayaka. You know what I mean? I'm going to read it. Ancient Hebrew, because we are the Israelites. You know what I'm saying? We not. What do you mean? Oh no, we'll read the word Jesus if we're reading the scriptures, because again, as the scriptures say, you know what I'm saying, with stammering, the scripture that says, with stammering lips and another tongue shall they teach this people. So when I go to camp, like tomorrow, I got to go teach black people. I got to go be a loud Israelite in the middle of downtown Raleigh, right? That's what I do, right? That's what we all do in here. But I got to do that, right? But I'm doing it because I love my people, right? And my people don't understand, you know what I'm saying, Alahayakum, Alahaya now. They don't understand that. So I have to teach them with what they know. So if I say Yahweh, I'm going to say it, but I'm going to let them know, I'm going to say who we ignorantly call Jesus. To alert them that the person that you're thinking of, his name is not Jesus, right? His name is Yahweh, and he's not a white man. I'm gonna let them know all of that. You know what I'm saying? So most high in Christ, still no questions. We should be good to go. And with that, I pass the class over to priest and officer Yanazar.
Security announcement. We are the Isupk. Security announcements. We are the Isupk out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commandant General Yohana. New rules for brothers and sisters. And also, we're not affiliated with any other Hebrew Israelite group. We teach the truth of the Bible that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the true Jews of the Bible. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or a sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18 and 21 in Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. Means tenth in Hebrew and is pronounced ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priest, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming Holy Convocation. On November 28th, we have the Feast of the Dedication, or Hanukkah, November 28th, right here in Durham, North Carolina. What is it, 2534 South Roxbury Street? Okay. Remind Akim and Akwakim to check on social media such as isupk.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and materials. And I cannot stress how important it is to keep up on the social media because that's where we get a lot of the information. You know, we come to class and we learn in class, but we get information from all different sources. And that's how we communicate with one another as well. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he is to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirt, pants, headband, or scarf. And with that, a majim